Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP is Shetsky Rise, posted to r/relationships, October 19th, 2015. My nephew, 14 male, asked me, 30 female, about his true origins. But his mother made us all swear we would tell her fabricated lies about him. A quick background explanation. Jack is my boyfriend's 14-year-old nephew. I consider him to be my nephew because I've known him since the day he was born. Even though I'm not married to his uncle, very common in my part of the world, so no comments on this please. His mother was in her mid-30s, 20s when she desperately wanted a kid. So she either tricked or paid, her story is a bit unclear on that part, a coworker of hers into fathering a kid. Jack really loves me because I'm the cool aunt and he often confides in me, especially since hitting his teenage years. What we know about Jack's biological father, he used to be a coworker/acquaintance, we're unsure, of my sister-in-law. He's black, he was married with twins, and he may have been deported back to his home country, or willingly returned there. That part is also unclear. Also, my sister-in-law is adamant he didn't know he fathered her child, and she never told anybody who it was. The fabricated lies about Jack's origin. Her mother fabricated a whole web of lies about Jack's conception, because I guess she's ashamed of how he was conceived. Personal interpretation. She asked the few of us who know the real story to propagate those lies, mainly that Jack was conceived during a trip to Italy with an unknown Italian man she met on the beach, and they had a night of unbridled passion. She said that having a fictional Italian father would explain his curly hair and dark skin. Never mind that she got pregnant a whole 2 months after her trip to Italy. Also, Jack looks, well, black. He's got very pronounced black facial features and hair, as well as a very dark skin. His mother is the whitest of white. Despite this, his mother is having him believe he's the product of two Caucasian persons and describing him as looking Mediterranean. Recently, at a family reunion, Jack asked me if he could speak privately about some important matters he was too afraid to ask his mom, or his uncle because he feared he may tattle to his mother. So under the guise of going for an ice cream run, I took him for a drive. He told me that other kids at his school were calling him oh boy. Poor kid. The N-word. There's not a lot of black people around here. We're in the middle of nowhere in a very rural and white area. And we're laughing at him when he told them he's half Italian. He said he knows he looks like a black person, and he's pretty sure his father was black. He also told me he doesn't mind being half black, nor does he care about knowing his father. He said he's tired of the uneven buzz cut his mom gave him ever since he was a kid because she was unable to style his hair and would like to experiment with other hairstyles, like those he sees on black people on TV. He also told me he likes hip-hop, but his mother doesn't want him to listen to it because she doesn't want him to catch mannerisms associated with rappers. Jesus fucking Christ. Instead, she has him listening to classic rock and 90s alternative, basically her preferred style of music. He also said they've learned about slavery in school, and he'd like to know more about the history of his people. What I've heard when talking with him was a teenage boy who wants to belong somewhere, but hasn't found that place because he looks different. All his life he's been told he's someone he isn't, being made fun of and rejected for pretending to be this person he isn't. He's afraid of looking for the truth since he fears his mother's reaction. He fears she might hate him if he says he's black because then he'd be something she tried to avoid all his life. I didn't tell him his story. I said that we would try to help him, but didn't make him any promises. I did give him a memory stick with my favorite hip-hop and reggae albums and a huge pair of headphones, which he wears 24/7 now. They're fashionable. I talked about what Jake... Okay, so real quick, I do want to just add this here. It seems that OP's fake name for their nephew changed from Jack to Jake. At first I thought it was a typo, but it seems to the rest of the thing, that's the name it's going by. So it's no longer Jack, it is now Jake. I talked about what Jake told me with my boyfriend. We both agree his sister is ridiculous, and he had a lengthy conversation about it with her. She flatly told him that Jake is not black. He's half Italian. End of story. She doesn't want to hear another peep about it, or she'll forbade us from talking with him. I don't care. He's got Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and so do I. She's barely able to send an email. The grandparents don't want to get involved. They said they'll side with their daughter since she knows what's best for her son. I have talked about the situation with my supervisor at work. We have a nice relationship beyond work, and she's from Africa, as well as her husband. She said if I wanted, I could take my nephew with me for a day and meet with her and her husband and their kids. Her husband offered to give him a crash course Black Hair for Men 101 and talk with him about important black man things that my boyfriend might not have known, such as ingrown facial hair. Their twins are the same age as Jake and like the same things, so he could make friends beyond his school. My boyfriend agrees it's an excellent idea, but we're reluctant to break his sister's clear orders. We feel this could backfire and that Jake himself would be punished for our actions. I feel like I should tell him the truth about his origins and take on the offer to meet my supervisor's family so he could get some positive role models he can relate to. Too long didn't read, teenage nephew discovered by himself that he's half black. His mother still says he's Italian and doesn't want him to experiment with his cultural heritage. Edit, typo in the age my sister-in-law got pregnant, she was in her 20s, not 30s. So real quick before we get to the comments and continue on with the updates, because of my melanin content and the fact that moonburn is an active threat to my existence, my commentary is going to be somewhat surface level, at least to the extent that I, as the palest motherfucker that I know, can give. So please, in the comments, feel free to expand and provide more input where I would certainly be lacking, as is my melanin content. Comments. Here to procrastinate comments. Yeah, I think the kid is only going to figure it out more and more. I really don't have any advice since this is way out of my league. I wish the best for him. Good luck to you guys. Opie responds, yeah, he told me he was always a bit suspicious of his purportedly Italian origin. He said that even though he's at peace with who he is, he's afraid his mother will never love him for what he really is. It really broke my heart hearing that. Jancarius Sir Eugen. I hope. Why did the sister not just say it was a black guy in Italy in the beginning? Like, that would have closed up pretty much all of the holes in the story. OP responds, I think her problem is with the black part. Mostly the stereotypes associated with black persons and, in my honest opinion, most importantly, the stereotype associated with fat white women and black guys. Is that a thing? I strongly believe she doesn't want to be that fat white woman who got impregnated by a black guy who disappeared from his child's life, even though she willingly took the steps to be impregnated by a black guy and willingly do things that would prevent the father to know he fathered a child. She once said, and I quote, I want a baby without having to endure the jerk needed to make one. She's also a fervent reader of Harlequin-type books. I'm pretty sure she had constructed a whole romantic story in her head, and she's using her kid as a real-life prop to indulge in that fantasy. Pancake Ice comments, could you tell him that since no one knows his biological father's family history, he could be black, and to embrace that culture if it feels right? OP responds, I didn't explicitly tell him his father was black because the kid is not stupid and know pretty well what he looks like. I did, however, tell him that if something looks like a duck and quacks like a duck and acts like a duck, then it's probably a duck, wink wink. To a long comment that I can't find, unfortunately. I'm not close at all to her. My boyfriend is really close to his sister, but each time he tried to talk to her about it, she either hung up or left the room. If he pushes the matter, she gets angry, yells at him, then complains to her parents, who in turn call my boyfriend to remind him how bad of a brother he is for tormenting his sister, and that as a mother, she's the only one who knows what's best for her son. I believe the grandparents are happy to shove their heads in the sand regarding the subject, since it means they can continue to tell the romantic story of their half-Italian grandson, instead of the dirty story of a mixed-raced grandson conceived in the deceit or in exchange for money. I think there's a strong racist undertone to the whole story. You think? Use your Iggy Biggy Black comments. Can you help him meet these black role models without explicitly telling him his story? I think that connection is more valuable than a confirmation of a truth he already knows. Opie responds, I plan on introducing him to my supervisor's family. I think I'll tell him this story when he's 18. This way, it's gonna be pretty hard for his mother to forbid any contact with him. I think I'll leave out the part about his mother tricking/paying his bio dad. I'm not even sure myself, and it's not a nice thing to know, especially since he seems to have accepted his bio dad will never be in his life. Update, October 26th, 2015. After a discussion with my boyfriend, we agreed to invite his nephew for the weekend, set him straight about his origins, and have him meet my supervisor's family. Boyfriend called his sister last week and told her we'd take Jake for a weekend in the city. This happens so often, so she wasn't suspicious. So last Friday, I pick up Jake from school and we drive back home. We talked about music. He loved what I gave him on the memory card. School, girls, etc. During dinner, my boyfriend told him we had a discussion about what he said to me during the family reunion. He said we had a long thought about it, weighed the pros and cons, and decided we would tell him the truth about his origin, or at least what we know. Basically, we told him that yes, his dad was black, so that makes him half black, and no, he wasn't conceived in Italy because her mom got pregnant 2 months after her trip. We said we were telling him despite his mom's direct order because we feel it's not okay to be lied to about his origins. I told him about my supervisor's family and their offer. He said he wanted to meet them. So, on Saturday morning, we drove to the mall and met them there. It was an instant hit with the twins, and after a couple of hours, they acted like they've been friends forever. We all had lunch together and drove them to the park near my supervisor's house. They played soccer all afternoon with the twins' friends and neighbors. Around dinner time, we received a call from Jake asking if it was okay if he stayed for dinner with the twins. With their parents' blessing, of course. Then, later, he called to see if it was okay for him to spend the night. Then, on Sunday morning, they all went to a community brunch. The twins had hockey practice, so my supervisor's husband, Henry, drove him back to our place. They had a manly discussion on their way about personal topics. Grooming, not knowing who their father is, what it means to be mixed race, etc. We didn't pry about what Henry told him, but Jake told us that Henry told him a lot of things that put him at ease with himself, and that for the first time in his life, he felt like he could simply be himself. My supervisor later called me to tell that Jake is a very polite and well-mannered young man, and he's welcome anytime he wants in their house. Before we drove Jake back home, we told him it was his choice about telling his mom or not. Whatever he did, we would stand by his choice and are ready to accept the consequence. We said to contact us by any necessary means if he needs us, and we'll be there. He decided to come clean to his mom. He told her we told him the truth about his origins, and that he spent the weekend with his new friends. He told her he was tired of being laughed at for pretending to be something he isn't, and that it's not because he knew he was half black and likes hip-hop that he would turn into some kind of gangster or whatever she feared. He told her he would start growing his hair because he wants an afro, whether she likes it or not. Obviously, his mom blew a fuse, and we received a very angry call from her. She said we were undermining her parental authority. She threatened to cut contact with us. My boyfriend tried to calm her, but she then threatened to call the police. He got fed up and told her to call back when she was calmer. She did call the police, and kudos to the officer who called us back. He just wanted to confirm that his sister wanted us both arrested and thrown in jail for telling our nephew about his bio dad's race. When we confirmed, he said he'll have a talk with her about the purpose of the police force and what making frivolous calls entails. He asked about the well-being of our nephew and told us he's going to pay them a little visit just to make sure everything's okay with him. He's got a file with CPS from a couple of years ago because we made a complaint about his mom, so I guess they're being extra cautious. We called Jake to keep him up to date. He said his mom got very angry with him, so he ran next door to his grandparents' house. He explained the situation to them, and they wanted to talk to my boyfriend about it. They had a quick discussion about it, and they both agreed that Jake's mother was ridiculous about the whole situation. They've apologized to Jake about lying to him for all those years and that they should have never let his mother do this. They also called their daughter and basically put her in timeout. Jake will spend the next week with them so she can think about what she did and the consequences of her actions. They will also talk with the police officer to assure him that Jake is safe at their house and they are keeping their daughter in check. How do the grandparents have that kind of authority? Too long didn't read, told Jake the truth about his origins. Mom blew a fuse, grandparents agreed we were right, and put Mom in adult timeout. Edit. I initially forgot to tell, but when I wrote the original post, I was entirely sure that Reddit would tell me to mind my own business. I was very ambivalent about doing nothing or going against his mother's direct orders. Then, people started commenting on how bad it was for a kid to not know his origin, how bad it was to be lied to, and discovering the truth later on. I also received some PMs from people telling me their stories as a mixed-race kid. It's only then I realized how important the questions of race and origin are. It's something I couldn't have even imagined with my background. I know both my parents and all of my grandparents. I know stories about my ancestors. I have never doubted from where I have came from. Hearing from people who went through the same things as Jake really helped us make what we believe was the best decision for him. Comments. Captain Cuddle Who Roar. I feel very bad for your nephew. I wish you guys had spoken to the grandparents ahead of time and tried to get someone in the family to convince your boyfriend's sister to tell the boy the truth before someone else did. I'm not sure if an ultimatum like that would have worked on her, but one of the worst possible outcomes is someone other than his mother telling him, and then telling him that his mom has not only been lying to him his whole life, but that she is also forcing everyone this young man loves and trusts to lie to him too. I have no sympathy for the boy's mother whatsoever, but I can't help feeling there was a more sensitive solution to this than the one you chose. If you exhausted those options and attempted to resolve this another way, then I apologize for being so harsh. OP responds, we tried talking to the mom to no avail. We tried talking to the grandparents to help them reason their daughter, but they said they would stick by their daughter. They only changed their minds when Jake himself told them and explained to them how bad he felt because he knew his mom was lying to him. Jake was absolutely sure of his origins. He just wanted confirmation from someone he trusted. RJ20876. I hate to see family overstepping parental authority. My grandma does it constantly with my daughters, but fuck, did it need to happen here? She was being absolutely ridiculous. OP responds, it's during times like this we regret not pushing forward to get parental authority over Jake when he was still a toddler. The grandparents stepped in to keep an eye on their daughter, but we feel it might not have been enough sometime. User So Much More Eagle comments, did she pick him because she figured he wouldn't be a part of her son's life? Either because he would go home or because he was black? Or did she get pregnant on accident? Or is she just nuts? Opie responds, she definitely didn't get pregnant on accident. She had 2 miscarriages before Jake, and from what she told us, it was from the same guy. I think she picked him up because he was willing to have sex with her. I don't think he knows he fathered a child with her. User So Much More Eagle. I'm so glad it worked out. Hopefully his mom will come around. Too bad she couldn't have been the one to tell him, but for some reason she was living in some kind of blissful denial world and didn't see that her son was being hurt by her lie. Why didn't she just go to a sperm bank? Also, big kudos to your supervisor and her husband. They really stepped up. Being 14 is hard enough when you aren't being called names and have friends who look like you. Opie responds, artificial insemination costs a fortune. She's unemployed, and according to her previous work records, probably unemployable unless she could be placed in those insertion programs for the mentally challenged. User Wookie42 comments, wait, she's mentally challenged or are you just joking around? OP responds, she was never properly diagnosed, but it's not too far-fetched of an assumption to make. She cannot drive. I saw her trying to learn in an empty parking lot, and you could just see the task was too complex for her to fully grasp. She tried at least 6 times to get her apprentice permit, but she never passed the theoretical exam. She never got her high school diploma. When she was 18, they sent her to adult school, and her assessment test showed that her general knowledge level was around grade 6. Her reading and writing knowledge were lower than that. She struggled with basic additions and subtractions. She was able to get an equivalent diploma after 5 tries. She was nearly 30 at the time. As for work, she's never held a job for more than 3 months, and 3 months being an exceptional high. She worked at all the minimum wage places around here, fast food places, big box stores, house cleaning. She was fired from all her jobs, 10 plus, for gross incompetency. So yeah, I really believe she's somewhat mentally challenged. However, she never had the help she needed because her parents refused to act and enabled her like crazy, so she wouldn't feel different. User East End comments, he's got a file with CPS from a couple years ago because we had a complaint about his mom. Hey, so what happened here? OP responds, when Jake was 4, she got fired from another job. She was beyond on rent, utilities have been cut off for at least a month, so she was keeping a toddler in an unheated basement apartment late in autumn. She was feeding him exclusively on junk food and diet soda. She lived in another town, and we only found out when her landlord called my boyfriend to tell him he had served her an eviction notice. He was on the lease as an emergency contact. We found out she would often leave him unattended to go shopping or see movies. He was 4 years old. We called her parents, but they didn't believe us. I was 19 at the time and my boyfriend was 20. We didn't know what to do, so we called CPS. There was a family meeting with a social worker, and it was agreed that she would move near her parents and they would act as legal co-guardians, or something like this. CPS made a couple of follow-up visits and everything was okay, so they closed the file. I suppose that answers my question. User Orange Kitty comments, between this and the last post where they disagreed with telling Jake because his mother knows best, maybe your boyfriend's parents need to learn which sibling to give the benefit of the doubt to. You need to stop coddling her just because she's a mother and can do no wrong. She clearly has a lot to learn about putting her kid first. OP responds, there's an 8-year age gap between my boyfriend and his sister. Their parents always considered him the troublemaker because he was a hyperactive child who didn't do well in school. She's the older sister, therefore she's right. Mother-in-law continues to believe her daughter can do no wrong, but father-in-law has a head on his shoulder more than his wife. Final update. After 11 days, October 30th, 2015. Just some quick updates about Jake's situation. I don't think I'll post more after this because in my opinion the situation is pretty much resolved. About the call his mom made to the police. The police officer who called us paid her a visit. He then called us back to let us know that they obviously won't pursue with her complaint against us. Jake called us to ask if he could come again for the weekend. During our discussion, he said his mom talked to him and told him that yes, his bio dad was black. He said she had a kind of, "Are you happy you ruined everything now?" kind of attitude about it. She's lifted the ban on his hip-hop music and black hairstyles, but very seriously told him it's gonna be our fault if he becomes a gangster. Oh well, I guess we can live with this. On a more serious matter, my boyfriend talked with his dad this week. They're gonna have Jake and his mom move in with them. Their house is literally next door, plenty big and paid for. Plus, they'll be able to keep an eye on them. Father-in-law hinted that the move was sparked by the fact that Jake's mom was having trouble paying rent and her bills again, and her dubious decision to call the police over such trivial matters. My boyfriend took the opportunity to say that it was maybe time they have a serious family discussion about his sister's mental capacities, and he expressed his concerns about what will happen when her parents won't be there anymore. Father-in-law is starting to see the light. He said he's going to take an appointment with an attorney to see what can be done. But he expects mother-in-law to throw a shitstorm over it. Finally, the biggest shock would be that we've learned that they are the legal guardians of Jake. Ever since we made that call to CPS 10-ish years ago, they never bothered telling us this little fact. So Jake lived with his mom, but it was his grandparents who had legal authority over him. Again, it shows how they tried to protect her again and again from the consequence of her own actions. We offered to have Jake over for the weekends and holidays if he wants. They were reluctant a bit, but they agreed on the condition that we have to pick him up on Friday after school and drive him back for Sunday evening, a 1-hour ride each way. Also, he's starting high school next year. We're going to offer his mom and grandparents, and him, obviously, to have him the whole school year so he could attend high school in the city near our place. Jake has always shown an interest for learning a trade, and this school offers a program where high school students can try different trades and then transfer their credits when they graduate. I'm gonna leave soon to pick him up for another weekend in the city, so thanks everyone for the kind comments and words of encouragement. Too long didn't read, mom comes clean. They're gonna move in with grandparents. We have Jake over for the weekends and holidays and are considering asking them to have him move with us next school year. Obviously, there is a lot about this story that I can't fully speak on because I would be speaking in place for other people who have actually gone through and experienced this. So I'll be leaving commentary when it comes to personal experience to the comments. What I can talk about, though, is where the parents really fucked up. as well as the sister-in-law's obvious racial fetishization. The sister-in-law should have definitely been tested, as a child or as an adult or at some time. It's really common, when autism and ADHD being a great example, for parents to ignore symptoms of a possible condition their child has and just, you're just going to tough it out and you're going to live a normal life and you're going to be normal because nothing could possibly be wrong with my child. My child's perfect. If there's something wrong with you, then there's something wrong with me. So therefore, not going to take you in to be diagnosed because that would reflect badly on me as a parent. So then we have people who never received the help they needed, who are then just struggling through life. And honestly, the grandparents should have just taken full custody after what happened when Jake was 4 years old. Having a child live off of junk food and diet soda with no heat, no power, no electricity in a cold basement because she's unable to hold a job down, that should have been cause for custody migration immediately. But no, instead we're going to let him be with the mother who refuses to acknowledge the child's race and instead is making up lies and seems to have some weird fixation with him not being black. Because if he listens to a single hip-hop CD and styles his hair, he's gonna turn into a gangster. Something I've noticed over my years on the internet is that a lot of people who are racist will also simultaneously fetishize them and call them exotic or something along those lines. It's confusing and it's gross. In the end, the biggest thing that I find to be the most important is that Jake is able to live a happy and fulfilling life that he feels comfortable in his own skin. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP's throw are a regret. Posted to r/true off my chest March 31st, 2024. My fiancé moved out today. I regret ruining our relationship more than anything in my life. My ex-fiancée officially moved out today. She left me 3 weeks ago, but today she picked up the last of her things and I signed a new lease on my own. Our son turned 2 last month and we will be alternating weeks with him. I'll be getting child support starting next month, but everything else I done. It's hitting me today that it's over because I was the one who fucked up. My fiancé's parental leave ended 6 months ago, and she had to go back to work. I fucked up because I told her I was taking on extra work. I freelance. But really, I was golfing. I told myself it was fine, but it wasn't. I didn't like the chaos since her leave ended, and instead of pitching in and doing something, I did nothing. My fiancé found out I was lying to her about taking extra work after I complained about the chaos. I was in denial, but I don't want to blame her for leaving. I'll regret this for the rest of my life. Comments. User Dear Parsnip 6802 comments, enjoy the chaos that comes with single parenting 50% of the time. User That Woman Now comments, feel bad for the kid that's gonna deal with the parent that likes to golf and not deal with chaos. Kids can be chaotic. User Stone Mountain comments, wow, why? You essentially ran away from the relationship. Now you'll be 100% caregiver every other week. User Give Yourself a Fry comments, and the kid will be the one that suffers. Guarantee the golfing wasn't the final straw. User Frenchicky comments, can't blame her. I wish her well. User Sarina comments, props to her for not taking any bullshit. The breakup seems well deserved. Unfortunate. Final update, 2 years later, April 2nd, 2026. I can't believe it's been 2 years. To everyone who said that being a single parent every other week was hard, you weren't kidding. I love my son. He has cerebral palsy and he's an amazing kid. When I have him, my life is chaos and I barely have time to breathe. And I spend the next week catching up on everything while he's with my ex-fiancé. Even with the child support payments, I get kids are expensive. I wouldn't change a thing about my son though. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. My ex-fiancé makes being a single parent look effortless. She finds it easier not having me around. It gutted me when she said that, but now I know she's right. I left her to do all the parenting, all the work at home, and be the breadwinner, while I fucked around playing golf. We only talk about our son, and we're civil, but not close. I've stopped freelancing. I got a job with the provincial government. I've been seeing a therapist and have grown up a lot. I made a mistake before, but I want to be better for my son. The main part of my update is that I went to therapy, and it sucked, but I'm better for it. When I first posted, I got lots of DMs and support from people who play golf, saying my ex-fiancé is a harpy and other names. I felt vindicated back then, but now I know how immature I was. Comments. Seaside Ladder 8862 comments. In your original post, you said you complained to your ex-fiancé about the chaos at home. Meanwhile, she's responsible for 100% of the care of your disabled child. All of the household chores and maintenance, and she was the higher earner who had to take care of the bills, while you spent your time having fun at the golf course. I don't blame her for leaving after what you said. Just wow. User Made Chai's comments. It's rare to see someone actually take accountability for being a deadbeat partner. User Alternative Law 3913 comments. I guess karma hit ya. And now you know how hard she had it while you played golf and had a lot of free time, while she was overwhelmed with parenting alone. Caro Moquena comments. We rarely see people actually take accountability on here, so we should probably encourage it instead of just being mean. Peaches and Drama comments. Women need to be more choosy about who they have children with. She was working, doing all the parenting, and now has to pay child support, even though she has the kid 50% of the time too. I hope OP is working on getting a better salary so that can change in the future. She deserves money for golfing and hobbies too. Not sure if it's quite fair to say that she needs to be more choosy about the man she was with when he was actively lying to her. Bit of a short one, but it's just interesting getting a 2-year update where someone seems to be trying to fix themselves. Don't blame the fiancé at all for walking away. She 100% should have, and I'm glad she did. He left his ex-fiancé to pretty much just have 100% of the care for their child who had cerebral palsy, not even helping in the slightest, and help maintaining and keeping that chaos off. And she was also the breadwinner, and she was also still recovering from going through a pregnancy. Like, she had a lot on her plate, and she just went through it and did it. Meanwhile, OP was lying to her. Yeah, dude, she had every right to walk away. The only way to know if you actually grew or not is how your relationship with your son looks a couple years down the line. If he's actually happy to be around you or not. That's the only person who could really judge if you've actually changed or not, because, you know, you could very well just be coming to Reddit for sympathy points trying to pat your ego on the back when, in all actuality, you're still the same guy. Only person who you really need to prove it to is your son. So if you have changed, good luck. This post was collected by Andre, and their tagline is, "Go ahead, but a moose." The original OP is Lieutenant Commander Carter, posted on r/Mommet. Posted October 16th, 2025. Well, guess I was right about bedtime. Bedtime with my 3-year-old has been a nightmare recently. We say goodnight and then spend the next hour trying to get her to stay in her room. About a week ago, my husband started insisting we rock her to sleep like her grandma does when she's over. I said no. She needs to know how to sleep on her own. He said that he was fed up with the current routine. It was frustrating. And rocking works. The rocking is basically she lies in bed and we jiggle her. I didn't like it as a solution, and I got mad because rocking her aggravated my carpal tunnel. Last night was the worst. He was putting her to bed and she wouldn't listen. She wouldn't try to sleep. He ended up getting really frustrated. I went in there and it took me a long time to get her to stay in her bed. She was screaming, crying, tired, and she kept getting up. Well, I posed to him that we should do something like Ferber. Editor's note, method to aid sleeping. That when I put her to bed, I would tell her I had to do something and would be back to give her another kiss if she stayed in bed. I did that the first time, and when I got back, she needed a potty. There was no fighting to go back in bed after the potty. The second time, 10 minutes later, I gave her lots of hugs and kisses and told her I would be gone 15 minutes. Yeah, there was no third time. She conked right out. It felt very low stress, and she was more willing to let me leave the room because I was going to come back. She just laid in bed, looked at a book, and played with her stuffies whenever I was gone. We'll see how tomorrow goes, but for now, I'm smug as shit. Relevant and top comments. Commenter 1. Sometimes I'll take a stuffy with me when I leave to go brush my teeth, get changed, etc., and explain that I'll bring it back with me when I come to check on the child, in case they're sleeping before I return. Then they have a visual cue you were there if they wake up in the night and can still feel your love. Commenter 2. The stepping out method works the best for this age group in my opinion. Update 1. October 21st, 2025. 5 days later. Update! Still right about bedtime, knock on wood. I'm not going to say every night has been easy. It hasn't. Has it been easier than it has in months and we're about 1 billion times less frustrated? Yes! Oh my god, yes! Getting this out of the way because of some judgment I got on the last post. Every family is different and co-sleeping as the routine is not right for us. However, she does usually start her morning by waking us up and doing some morning snuggles in our bed. Anyway, back to me still being smug as shit because I was right about bedtime. We start out by coming back the first time relatively quickly, and sometimes she asks for the parent not putting her to bed that night, and we just give her whatever parent she wants. I usually will dart across the hall to our bedroom, fold some laundry, and come back. When I come back, she usually wants 3 kisses and 5 hugs. The second time we come back, we give it 10 to 15 minutes. She usually sleeps after that one, but not always. It has not been a struggle to keep her in her bed. Something else we started that seems to help a lot is after toothbrushing, instead of one parent saying goodnight and then a book with the other, one of us sits with her while the other reads a book. I said to my husband that maybe a few minutes of undivided attention from us both at the same time would help. She gets a lot of attention from us, but if what she's feeling is separation anxiety, I thought it wouldn't hurt to make dual attention part of the routine. I also think that mentally preparing for bedtime isn't over because I have to go back is a big part of us feeling better about it. Also, not having to stop what we're doing because she's gotten out of bed again, i.e. more control over the natural end to a task I'm doing before I go back. Anyway, husband has told me I was right, 'cause I was. Mwahaha. Top and relevant comments. Commenter 1. Developmentally appropriate sleep training helped us with both of our kids. I don't understand people that crap all over it when it clearly works and research has proven it doesn't negatively impact children when done correctly. Good on you guys! Less stress for you means less stress on the kids too. Update 2, November 1st, 2025. 3 weeks later. Update. Nearly 3 weeks on and I'm still right about bedtime. It's an update to this. Too long didn't read, we were having big problems at bedtime and I suggested instead of rocking our 3-year-old, we just tell her we'll be right back and check on her every few minutes. It worked and felt smug as shit because husband was convinced it wouldn't work. Knock on wood, but she is falling asleep better than ever. In the before times, usually one of us would read her a book, and while adjusting her sleep habits, we also added all 3 of us reading a book together as a step in the process. I think that part really helps because she's getting undivided attention from both of us at once during calm down time. Then one of us puts her to bed, talks about her day a little, gives her a kiss, and says we'll come back to check on her in a few. When we first started, we usually had to go back 3 times before she fell asleep. Now she falls asleep usually before we return the first time. We also used to come back after much shorter windows. Another tip for trying this is we chose family activities which would make her more tired while we were trying to set the new routine. So yeah, Hubs has said multiple times that I was right about it, and I can go on feeling really smug. I figured this one would be a nice way to cap off a best-of episode that had 2 sets of parents that definitely were not doing right by their child. Plus, I am also 100% keeping this in my notes for the future. Oh boy, the outro. Don't forget gamer subs. Use code Oz at checkout. Code Oz gives you 10% off of everything in store. Also, this is kind of a weird thing for me to do. And I'm only doing it because there were some comments that were just kind of really weird about it. A lot of them that disagreed with me were fine. I actually didn't mind the insight on them. I disagreed with it, but I didn't mind the insight. And I appreciate those of you who are respectful. And this portion here, not directed at you, but it might help explain where I'm coming from. But some of them were calling me a naive idiot, or a child, or a hypocrite. And some of those comments made me laugh, and I want to share that. As some backstory. So if you missed yesterday's video, there was a portion of it that involved someone who owned a camera repair store. A family friend brought in their camera expecting a professional evaluation for what they could get for the camera. The OP knew what was wrong with the camera, or that he at least had a strong hunch of what was wrong with the camera, but told them that he would scrap it for parts. The person then sells the camera to OP, thinking it would be scrapped for parts. OP fixes it for a minimal cost, then sells it for 5 times the value, then brags to his father that the family friend who trusted him, he just got a steal off of him. I thought that was gross. I think it's reasonable to find businesses that do that gross. That is my opinion. If a business is going to rely off of lying and deceiving to make their money, then I'm going to take my business elsewhere. That's just how this market works. If I'm looking for a professional opinion and you lie to me to make money off of me, then fuck you. I think that's pretty reasonable. My favorite commenter, though, which because I hold the opinion that I don't like professionals taking advantage of their professional status to scam people, regardless if they're a family friend or not, and just outright lying to them. So, because I'm not a fan of those business practices, quote, if you're calling this guy an asshole and you didn't, for an example, lobby hard for Bernie Sanders, assuming you're in America, then you're the asshole, not him. Hypocrisy isn't pretty. Figure out your ideology. Now, for those of you who were kind and respectful with your comments and who just simply had a different input or view on how you approach life, more power to you. I may not agree, but I respect the fact that you were coming to the table with just simply stating your opinion and how you were approaching the story from your own personal view. That's A-okay. But the comments like the one I just read, I cackled really hard at that one, and I had to share it. I'm sorry.